There we go. Who knows? How's everybody doing? I have been crazy this morning. I had a meeting at 9, which is not early, but I actually got on to, was looking at stuff, reading, thankfully, on the web, and I was on my phone. It was on the 5G, and I was like, oh my gosh, we don't really have great 5G, and we also don't pay for, we pay for data, we don't have an unlimited plan, because we're always home. And so the few times that we're away, we don't mind paying a little extra because our plan is pretty reasonable. We do it with Google. We like Google because we have the Google Fi, because the travel's fantastic. It makes it just so much easier, especially when we go to different countries. It's amazing how quick it transfers. Hey, Crypt Kid, how you doing? That's Opal for everybody else. Hey, Joe King, how you doing? So yeah, the internet was down, and I noticed on the phone said 5G, and I think, I don't think it's our provider, I think it's our router. We use an Orbi router, which is actually pretty great, because it's a mesh router, and it means that the studio and the house and everything's all connected. I actually have the connection bridged with routers, you know, with they're not extenders. They're basically, it's a mesh, so it's part of the whole group, and it's really helpful. Text change sound masticator. You know, I should have fixed that. Darn it. I should get in there. I know how to do this. I just was running out of time. I know how to do this by reading. I don't actually know how to do it. So I got the internet working, but it took me nearly an hour to get it all figured out what was going on. Because whenever it reboots, it changes our IP address internally so that, you know, you have connected devices. You don't want all these devices to be not working, particularly some things that I have set up to be able to remotely access stuff. And so I'm not certain how much brain damage it would be out here. I mean, we've rebooted and had it give us issues, but nothing real tremendously bad. I mean, most everything except for this laptop next to me is wired connected, not wireless. I mean, our phones obviously are wireless, but it's really kind of a pain in the rear end. Cuddling your cat. Happy Halloween, absolutely, everybody. Hey, Barry Reynolds. Excuses, it's true, Harry. And hey, Barry, I do want to have that chat with you. We've just been so busy getting. Hey, Chad's here too. Hey, Chad. So yeah, we like the Orbis, but man, they are not. Not constantly. It generally goes out while we are away. So the thing that I have on my server is I have the ability to listen to my music remotely, which I really like. I still have paid services. I just signed up for Apple Music, which I don't think I'll keep, but I did admit I wanted to listen to the music, surround music. So they have what they call spatial audio, which is just, I mean, you know, spatial audio is Dolby Atmos or DTS-X, I think is what they call it. And it just is a surround mix. What's really exciting about that sometimes is, I was telling a friend about it, that when you listen, it breaks it up so that you can hear individual tracks more clearly. That is exciting to me. I really like, I think some of the first records I heard that way were like Queen's Day at the Races, and it was unbelievable, and a Fleetwood Mac album. And so for 20 years I've been into it, but the Beatles sets stopped giving you an actual physical copy of that recording. It was a Blu-ray disc on the most recent stuff. I think all theirs are Blu-ray discs. And so I had to listen to them. I hadn't really heard them. I think I might have listened to some, because I have Amazon Music too. I think I might have listened to some of the Revolver on that, but I decided to see how it would work with the Apple TV. I have tons of set-top boxes as well. That is one of them, and or more than one. I have more than one Apple. And it sounds great. It's really good. We listened to a bunch of other stuff. It turns out all of George Harrison's music is available in spatial audio as well. They're not always necessarily mixed amazingly. Oh, the Ghost albums, we really like Ghost. all of their albums except for the very first one is in surround or spatial audio. It's really cool. So I don't know. I know that Amazon supports that somewhat. I don't know that it's as prevalent. There's also spatial audio that you can listen to with your iOS devices, where I think mostly the phones, but I think the iPad will do it, where it's just a stereo pair of headphones, but it does have the audio tracked around your head, so that if you turned your head, the audio would shift so that, like, if it were a band playing in front of you, it would be in the same position, which sounds intriguing. I just don't have those headphones. I do have an iPhone and iOS devices that I don't really use the iPhone as a real phone. As I said earlier, I have Google Plus, which you can use an iPhone with, but I do like having an Android phone. But I just haven't. I should set it up, but I don't have the headphones. You got to get the right kind of headphones. I think the newest USB-C headphones that came out with the new iPhones will support that spatial audio, but I don't know that. I think you have to use like a Apple iPod. What do they call them? I never can remember the name of those. They don't. AirPods, maybe. I don't know. Music nerd stuff. That is the truth. Anyway, so it is pretty. It is fun to listen to that stuff, and I really, really love it. I wish that it was more prevalent. I wish that it had survived. So basically, I feel it was like the last gasp of the record labels of physical media in the early 2000s, and they failed. They didn't communicate it well. They could have made, like all the music companies could have made every CD a super audio CD, and it would still play in your CD player, but they did not do that. Some did, where the release was only a super audio CD, but that was confusing. I get it, and people don't care. I mean, most people are completely satisfied listening to music from their phones. And it's not a bad choice. I mean, music can be great on your phone. It's wonderful having all that at access. Hey, Scott's here. So anyway, we finally got so here's the crazy thing. So we're streaming twice today. I've got the Paint stream this morning, and then later today, we're going to do Halloween stuff. The hope is to do 2 games. We are playing Halloween games, I'm telling you right now. So tonight, for Halloween, we're actually going to play Halloween games. We'll probably play Halloween, which is a hidden movement game, like, what's the example? Fury of Dracula. Nikki really wanted to play Fury of Dracula, but I wanted to try this one. We've played Fury of Dracula. I still would like to play it again, but it's unavailable. I do not understand what's going on with that. GW owns that, and WizKids did an edition, the last edition, physical one that I know of, and the copy we have is a Fantasy Flight edition, I think, that Scott gave us. Which, believe me, I'm thankful, because I'm such a fool. Sometimes I wait too long to buy stuff. I still want to buy the very first edition. I watched a video from MS Paints yesterday, pretty funny video, where he covered the original edition with the metal miniatures, and had some. I've seen his stuff before, but I've never seen his stuff with puppets. But no, if you know GameNight, you know that we like puppets, and it was pretty fun. So yeah, we're gonna play that, and maybe I got my Haunted Mansion shirt on today, one of my Haunted Mansion shirts. Maybe the Haunted Mansion game, but I would really like to play the other Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. But we'll see. Nikki's gonna come in, and she'll probably be. That's why it's lit up in the background. She's gonna probably come in and set up. So we'll probably discuss what we're gonna do there. She really wants to try the other. So there's 2 Haunted Mansion games that I think are essentially identical, but one of them is Haunted Mansion Anaheim, and the other one's Haunted Mansion Orlando. Hey Dylan K, thanks for the happy Halloween. I watched a virtual concert clip with Michael McCartney's band live, and Lennon. Oh yeah, I want to see that. I watched this guy Elliot Roberts, I think, from Australia, who has found his niche in YouTube, talking about, and on Patreon, talking about the Beatles. Mostly, and he went to see McCartney in 2017, but went to see him the other day, like 10 days ago, and they showed the bit with him duetting with Lennon, and I did not think that would be so cool, but it really looks awesome. I've only ever seen, I have an OG copy of Fear Drive. Oh, nice. At the Gathering somewhere in a box. Oh, that's cool. And so Nikki and I saw McCartney 10 years ago. My first time, you know, I've been a Beatles fan. Literally the first 2 records I bought were Beatles' Yellow Submarine and Beethoven's Third. I must have been I wasn't a teenager. I think I was just in grade school. My dad took me to Tower Records, and the reason why I wanted the Beatles' Yellow Submarine is we didn't have that one. It had a song that I'd heard somehow, maybe on the radio, maybe Dr. Demento, called Hey Bulldog, and Dad did not have that. He actually had it on, I know this for a fact, he had it on reel to reel, because that reel to reel, one of those tapes is hanging in a frame by our door. So that's why he didn't actually have the LP of it. He was into that. I mean, we're not audiophiles, but we definitely like audio to sound clear and good, and tape was awesome. OG Fury is fun, but I think the Kevin Wilson redesign is better. Neat. I just want to check it out. You know, ultimately, I've never really seen it. I think Nikki's coming in now. I've never really seen it, so I would love to see it, and, you know, paint it and stuff. Welcome, foolish mortals. So it turns out, so this was, what is the name of this? Minion Factory is the designer of this. He did a Hatbox Ghost one. These are glow in the dark. The Hatbox Ghost one is the ghost head disappears and shows up in the hat box. And so it's a big white thing when it's in the light, but when the lights go out, his head disappears because it's not glow in the dark stuff, and then it appears inside the hat box. It's awesome. But there's also a Madame Leota one, and there's a guy playing the organ, and I didn't see those. I bought these from T Villain 3 years ago, and I never saw the other ones. I only saw these 2 and bought them both. I'm very disappointed I didn't get the other 2 because they are very good. As a matter of fact, I don't know how expensive Minion Factory is for designing stuff, but we should look at him sometime for something BGG. He's really, really great. Although Scott's, the one that BGG pinball, it's a pinball artist. The BGG Con shirt this year is amazing and really, really great design, similar to like this stuff. So maybe you don't need to go to Minion Factory, but he's great. Anyway, so yeah, I'm excited. There's going to be a bunch of stuff. The downer is about these shirts is he doesn't offer them in his own store because he can't do the glow in the dark, which is a real bummer. I think he should do another, just like a custom print run of his own and sell them. Maybe I'll write him and try to convince him. I mean, I have friends that love these shirts that are huger fans of the Haunted Mansion even than I am, but I love it. But yeah, it's been a crazy, we got our vaccinations on Friday, and oh boy, nothing terrible, but I was tired. Like right away, I think I fell asleep pretty early that night, and then my mom came to visit and have lunch with us on Saturday, and I fell asleep as soon as we got back home from lunch. And yesterday I felt better, but I was achy Saturday, like really bad. But we also double dosed it. We got the vaccine and the COVID vaccine booster and the flu vaccination. And it's just best to get them out of the way, but yikes. Sometimes, I mean, I was just tired and achy. It wasn't like I was in any terrible pain. I still have a tiny bit of shoulder, you know, like I did both of them in the same arm. Nikki did each arm. I'm like, I just want one arm to suffer a little bit. This shirt is glow in the dark as well. It's not as just dramatic as the Hatbox Ghost, but the Madame Leota is the same. The crystal ball is white, and then when the glow in the dark happens, it's her face. It's really great. I found his website and saw a blog post about them. So that was literally 3 years ago, and I'm just disappointed I didn't see the others because I would have bought them for sure. I really like T-Villain. It's a great website. They do offbeat designs. I'm not sure that everybody would love them. I don't love every one they do, but I've gotten like crazy Legend, you know, Darkness from the movie Legend, which is not many people love, but I sure love Darkness. It was pretty cool. Tim Curry in a role I did not even recognize him in till later. But but yeah, it's awesome. And they do good stuff. I bought a my most recent shirt. Oh, I don't know if I've worn it on a stream yet. It was it says Jedi Priest, and it's a takeoff on the Judas Priest cover, Screaming for Vengeance, and I think it says, I didn't even notice it till I got it. It says Screaming for Vader. It's pretty awesome. I'm not even that big of a Judas Priest fan. I don't know if I have any records of theirs, but I have friends that are really into them. What else do we got? But yeah, it's been crazy. We're gearing up to leave next week for BGG Con, and which is the following week. And you know, just so much stuff. So Friday we have work that's gonna get done on the house, and no power. So I will be without power for 6 to 8 hours, and Nikki's gonna be at her mom's. So I am not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm probably gonna paint minis in the living room in the daylight, because there will be no light out here in the studio. So it's gonna be challenging. I've never had the power out for so long. I think we had power. I'm sure we had a power outage. Oh no, I think power came back on pretty quickly during the earthquake in 30 years ago, almost exactly 30 years ago. And we were without power for a little while, but we were without water forever. So we had gas and electricity, but no water. And so we finally moved out into another building in the complex. And then as we were moving, they green tagged the building. So it was a disappointment, because I fixed all the damage in the apartment and everything. So pretty funny. Other than that, I'm really looking forward to BGG Con. There's a lot of events. Nikki and I are going to be involved in Our Family Plays Games panel, where they're going to talk about everyone's top 5 games. I think last year we did 10. I'm very happy to be doing 5. I'm terrible about choosing, especially when I got to really get it down to 5. We'll see, but hopefully I'll only have like 1 extra. I'm not even sure. I haven't really thought about it. We did a look back video or something like that not too long before that with Candace and Dave and Nikki and me, and I think we were looking back. I guess it was looking back at 2022. I don't remember, but we made a list. So I did change it. I think in the time between then I had some changes, but we've played some new games this year that I think would be pretty cool. And we played some of the stuff from Spiel already. Not enough. We have a ton of games. I mean, you know, not a ton, but we brought back quite a few for what we had in our baggage. Let's see. Okay, well, let me switch to the camera. I can do this here if I can get to the right one. I was in such a rush to get it all together today. Oops, that's not what I want to do. It is really great having this computer next to me. I mean, it's such a blessing. I can really get stuff done. I guess Nikki's not in here. She's also got projects. She's working on some cool stuff that, I mean, I think I've spoken about this not directly a few times, because she's not ready to announce what she's working on. But she should get on it soon here, I think. It's sad because, of course, she has all these great Halloween things. Anyway, it's just, you know, her mother's health has been, she's doing great, but her mother's health has been, you know, been an issue. And so it's tough. We stream usually, well, she streams once a week. I usually stream twice a week. We did not stream last week, I forgot to say. We were supposed to stream, and then we were going to film. I can't remember what happened, but Dave rejiggered his schedule so we could film, and then Deborah had an issue where she actually thought she had COVID. She did not get COVID. She didn't think she had COVID. She was perfectly fine, but she had been exposed, and she had just found out the day we were going to film. So, you know, I was comfortable with her. You know, I mean, she wasn't feeling anything, and she was 3 days in, but Dave, you know, rightly so, he's going to see his mother soon. And, you know, we see my mom, and Nikki sees her mom, and, you know, we see our parents all the time. So we don't want to get them sick. But we just thought for the safety's sake, we would just cancel. And so we are replanning that for this weekend. The goal is to have, so we have our 500th Barry already knows about this. 500th episode coming up soon. And the reason why I put it in quotation marks is I don't know if it's exact. We have a list that we keep all of that information. We keep all the current, well, relatively, I try to be on it. Occasionally I forget to do it, update it. It's all of our episodes. Scott put this list together just after we started creating GameNight. And it's not a ton of people interact with it. It's just a geek list that's got 500 entries. And so it's pretty close. We might have a few live stream things that we did. You know, during the pandemic, that was all, you know, it was a lot of live streaming, and then our game night date nights, which is game night. And so all those things were like, part of that 500, I think. There's not too much variation on it. You know, we did have like breaks in some of that stuff, but I think we're pretty close. So we're going to try to film something for the 500th, but hey, Dancing Desi, but we're not going to have everybody. I might as well cut back. We're not going to have everybody because Aaron is, I wrote him again, he's unavailable. We have a small election here in Los Angeles that he is working on. And so I think this weekend is in advance of the Tuesday. But I was like, could we do it later in the day on Saturday? So it's a downer because like we wanted Mark Johnson and Candace to come, and both of them are going to a convention in San Diego, a historical gaming convention. You know, probably historical themed games. Which is cool. I mean, I'm excited for them. Bummed that we can't have them because Mark is one of our earliest guests, and we haven't had a lot of him lately. I've invited him to like because he was always an SDJ guy, that we'd have him come on for the SDJ stuff. And we'd actually Nikki and I were talking about, we'd like him to come in and not worry about the kids' games. Because he used to be the resident dad, but both of his kids are in their 20s now. So not so much. Let's see who else. We got Rusty's probably going to make it, and Mike's going to make it, and Deborah's going to make it. I think we're going to have 6. It's really a bummer. But it's still great. I mean, you know, Aaron is disappointed he can't make it. Who knows, maybe we'll get lucky. But it is crazy that we've reached episode 500, whether or not it's... I mean, I will tell you this. We have actually filmed 500 episodes, almost 100% certainly, because we have many episodes that did not make the cut. We also have a few episodes that are hidden episodes that were ones we had to take down because of some massive rules problems, or massive enough that we felt it was a problem. I feel like we reshot one of them, but I guess we didn't. I don't know. One of them was Azul Summer Pavilion, and then the other one was, oh my gosh, that was the bane of my existence for a little while. Castel. It was a great episode too, but there was a problem with, there's a problem with the pieces in that game, that they are somewhat easily confused at this one size range. And I think Dave messed it up. And I gotta tell you, probably in my terms nowadays, I would just not make a big deal about it. You know what I mean? I would just, I don't know. The downer is we should actually use, Rado started using the Klingon subtitles a long time ago to make notes. And if we just adopted that and made it part of our regular process, then we could probably feature some of these things that have problems and not worry about it. Because what happens is, you know, if you take it down, any of your viewing is lost. It's weird. I understand why YouTube does that, but it's such a bummer. So we just leave them. We hope to try, we try to make sure we teach the game correctly, and I think most of the times we've actually taught it correctly. There might have been something with Castel where that wasn't the case. But yeah, those are out there. You can actually see them. Castel at least 2 times, Scott, at least 2 times. We also shot an episode, but we knew we knew the problem while playing it. We shot Ark Nova twice. I think I talked about that earlier this year. But I think we shot Castel I don't think Castel ever got released because there was something wrong every time. It was terrible. But it's a great episode and it's really fun. And Castel's actually a great game. I think you can still get that one out there. Anyway, so I've been painting the I've been trying to get the Warhammer 40,000 introductory set together here. Do I have the box? No, it's here somewhere. And the goal is I'm going to try to play it on the show. Maybe just 2. I don't know if I'll make it a date. I may make it a date night. But the goal is to actually play it. So I've always wanted to do Warhammer Underworlds. I really love Warhammer. Here, there's the game. I love Warhammer Underworlds, but the problem is it's not my favorite. I like the game, but I don't feel it really represents Warhammer. And so, I mean, it does. It's fantasy. So anyway, I'm working on the new introductory set. So it's Space Marines and Tyranid Termagants. These guys right here. And these are the new Tyranid models, and they are great. I think they're pretty new anyway. Because they are unlike any of the other ones I have. And let me see, maybe I zoom in a wee bit more here. Yeah, Game Night, Date Night is coming back. I will tell you now, it should have been up 5 months ago. We have just been so swamped with things, and we have not been able to, like when we don't have work to do, specifically scheduled, and we should just put it on the schedule, we just cannot get it in. It's crazy. My goal, so I've been actually working really hard to try to, number one, have a little bit more relaxed December. We are doing the Advent calendar again this year, but we're going to shoot it. We've already begun shooting it, and we're going to try to finish it up. Maybe not November because of Thanksgiving and everything that's coming up, but soonish. And then get those together and then put them out. It's a downer because I really love it, and I actually love doing it during the Christmas season. But last year was, I mean, every year we've done it, it's been hard. But last year was harder because we actually were playing a game. You know, each one of those little pieces was a little portion of the game. And some of them are, I think all of them are basically introductory level puzzles. But, you know, you still get stuck sometimes on some of them. And so when you're doing 24 episodes, one every day, it's much more work than you think it will be. Like, oh, this is short, it should be no problem. Yeah, I have to still make thumbnails for every day. I have to make posts for everything. It's more work than you think. So anyway, trying to get all these things together so that December's a little bit more laid back and I can actually enjoy the holiday as our folks are getting older. And so we want to start shooting Game Night and Date Night and have it happen. We actually have a huge pile of games that just keeps getting bigger and bigger that we want to feature. So we will be getting to it. I know Scott would like us to get it, take a break. I know it's hard to take a break though. So here's the thing. I like doing I like doing this stuff. I'm a I don't know that I'm a workaholic, but I'm excited to do that. You know, I like learning and doing, you know, learning what I'm doing here. There's always something new to learn. And I mean, goodness gracious. So I've had real troubles with rendering lately. We have on BGG, on Game Night, you know, some of our episodes are very long, and I could render all my hour-long episodes without problem. So in Premiere, there's like a hardware accelerator that uses your graphics card to improve rendering times, and it truly works. But it started, I think, with what was it? ISS Vanguard, and I couldn't render it. Like I could not get it to render, and so I ended up editing and putting out an entirely different episode, maybe sides at the time, instead of that episode, and then I finally figured out how to do it. Now, the way I figured out how to do it was you do it in software, meaning no acceleration, but even then I was having troubles, but I still somehow got it to go. And then recently, we were supposed to potentially put something out last week. That'll be this week's episode. It's a little late. It's actually a game that's in Kickstarter right now, but it'll be in Pledge Manager and all that stuff. But it was one that we shot just as soon as we got back from Spiel, and it was a little bit of a challenge to get it done. And but when I tried to render it, would not render. And I tried to render it in software, it would not render. And so we had to step back on our Adobe Acrobat. There's a brand new version 24. Can't use that one. And we haven't actually been able to use the software easily since 3 editions ago. Not 23 version 23, but like updates. Several, like 3 updates ago or something like that, maybe 4. And so Derek figured out that if we just use the old one, 23.3, I think, it works better, but it's not ideal. But it works. You just can't use some of the new features, of course, because they were either beginning of implementation or a little bit further on. So this is, I use some of the Agrellan Earth. Is that what that is? I can't remember the name. On this, it is a little. So I should know this. I've painted this before a long time ago. No, it's Sterling Mud. That one's nasty because it's got all the grit in it. Agrellan Earth. So what this paint does is anyway, so that episode will come out probably this week. I figured out how to actually get it to work rendering wise. But what you should do when you paint this stuff that cracks and it reveals like it's mud, you should underpaint the base with another color. For example, a dark color, or maybe like a super bright, like if you were gonna, I don't know if they have a black, I mean, you can get a black crackling paint. I don't know that GW makes one, but others do. So you could theoretically put like super fluorescent orange underneath there to have it look like lava or something like that. But I should have painted it brown beforehand. I have not done the rest since then. I did do this, but this one actually did better. I mixed a couple of the paint, the crackling, what do they call them? Technical paints? Texture paints. I mixed a couple of them and did some stuff with it, so I think he turned out better. This is, man, I never remember his name. Titus, Lieutenant Titus, there we go. He is from the Space Marine, the board game box, which is exciting too. It has the same Termagants, but different Marines. He has a standard bolt gun and a chainsword. These ones that are in this game all have flamethrowers, which I'm very excited about. This one here, who's, I don't think he's a lieutenant, but he's got a sword and a bolt gun and a flamethrower, so I'm excited to paint. I've watched a video on doing the, the burnt, multicolor, like chrome tailpipes type thing, painting technique, so I'm going to try that. That'd be fun. So yeah, these are mostly done. I feel like they're cool. I put a little bit more of the accentuated, the whites, the little marring of their little plates. But I like it. It looks cool, and it was pretty simple. So I'm going to do the same. I've got these two mostly done. I still need to do the bases for them. Why won't that focus? Still need the bases for them. When you enjoy it, doesn't seem like work. It is true. It's just the time factor. Like, we have things to do on the house, and so we're finally getting some of those things done. That was why I won't have power on Friday. This one here is done, but I didn't do any of the little, I did a tiny bit, I think, of the white streaks here that I've been doing. And then I have all these that I just started yesterday. So I primed them the other day, and I just started putting the purple on. And so these, I did, let me put some actual reading glasses on, so I can, these are magnifiers, so I can see these, because I need them closer to my face than my eyes can see anymore. I was showing the ones that I painted. I just primed. So I used my new airbrush. I bought a Gallery 98D. I'll show you in a second. And it was great. It's a great airbrush. does a fantastic job. These I did with Lamian medium. No, I didn't use Lamian medium. I used contrast medium to thin it out and go a little bit less intense, because these were darker purple, but I dry brushed a lot of light highlights on it. So I'll probably still do the dry brush highlights before doing the other things, but I just wanted it to be a little bit lighter, but I still want them to match. So hopefully they won't be too off. I mean, you know, they're organic animals and none of them are the same, so it should be fine. I did use this airbrush. So this is a new Gallery GHC 98D, and I think the D means, I mean, it's dual action, but that's not what that is. I think it means it has 2 needles and nozzles. This airbrush is not cheap. It's cheap in the grand scheme of like expensive airbrushes, but it has a pretty awesome nozzle situation. I'll show you quickly what I'm talking about. I might have showed this before, but I've actually used it since then a good amount. It has a nozzle similar to what Harder and Steenbeck does, but it uses, it's inside here, it uses a different thing where it's actually got flutes to have more air channels. So it has 8 air channels that go around. So it does a pretty great job of atomization. I think this one lists like for 120, which is not inexpensive. But they, you can get discounts, and it's on sale like now for about $98, I guess. I wrote them because I actually had a problem with this one. It's close to perfect, but you can't see it, but this little needle, the very tip of the needle, was slightly bent. Like so much so that I couldn't see it. I actually had to use a loop to look at it, because I could feel it. I could feel it and I could not see it with my eyes. And so I used this loop with my magnifying glasses here and was able to see it and see a tiny little bend. And so I was able to straighten it out mostly, but it's so tiny. But what was happening is it was giving me dry tip. And so I wrote them and they said they can send me a new needle. So it's great. They were very responsive and quick. I need to write them back to tell them where. But the thing that I love about this, I mean, it has a great, of course it's not focusing, great connection point, screws off, it's got a PTFE seal, but this cup is amazing. So they really polished this cup. I have talked about it, but now I know from many painting sessions now that it is phenomenal. It cleans so easily because it's super polished, and it is really the best cup I've ever used. It's got a pretty large opening, and it's awesome. But I will tell you now, I have also purchased another airbrush, hopefully my last airbrush ever, just because I don't need any more airbrushes. But I did buy the new Ultra from Harder and Steenbeck, and it is I don't need that kind of airbrush necessarily, although I don't think of myself as an expert. But it's $95 or euros, and so it's about $95. And it is designed for someone to learn how to airbrush. It has a control mechanism that would be down here. I have a Harder and Steenbeck airbrush, at least one, that you rotate to adjust like how far you can pull the trigger back. That will help you learn I'm not sure you need that, but I think it's a pretty good idea. I'm eager to check it out. I mean, I buy these to show them on the stream. I don't really need any more of these airbrushes. It's the same kind of money, right? It's $95. Now, they're not selling it at Amazon yet, where it could probably be a roughly similar price to this one. So I think these guys have some competition big time. I mean, there's plenty of great stuff out there for inexpensive prices. The biggest difference from like an airbrush like this and then the Chinese ones, I mean, this is Chinese, and it's very well engineered. And then some of the other ones like the Harder and Steenbeck or the Badger. The very basic Chinese ones sort of use common parts so that you can order parts. These guys are going to be offering parts, so this will make it a pro-level brush in my opinion, so that you can, because you can buy parts specifically for this device, and there's more than one needle. and the engineering of the nozzle and everything is fantastic. Because you know, this cup attracts a lot of paint. I mean, this nozzle guard, but you know, you can spray without it. And the issue is, of course, this point is very pokey, and you can drag it or something like that. So I do wish they had offered a different nozzle cap. Maybe they will develop it. Maybe they already offer it for some of the other airbrushes. But this Harder and Steenbeck one is the same kind of money. It has nozzle that is the same as their high-end. You can swap nozzle parts and stuff like that. So it's got a lot going for it. Oh, the other thing that's cool is besides the stop that you can adjust between like doing the base coat or the layer, you know, the cover, painting or details and stuff, because I think it has 5 settings. The other thing is you cannot pull back the needle unless you press down first. And that's important because you want the air going before you have the paint going. Because if you have the paint coming out, if you go back first with the paint and don't press down, you're going to get splatters. So it will train a user how to use the airbrush more accurately. They have been, Harder and Steenbeck, I've talked about them already on the streams lately. They have been working really, they've been doing a lot of videos to explain what they're doing, and it's pretty exciting. I just wish they were a little bit easier to get in the United States. Their nozzles are not cheap. I bought a nozzle for my Infinity that was $60. Nozzle needle, you know, a whole swap out. Because the one I bought was 2, which 2 is a great 0.2 millimeter, 0.02. I think it's 0.2 millimeter. It has to be, can't be 0.2. Is a good needle size. But 3 or, I mean, here's the great thing about the Ultra. I believe it's a 4, and it's supposed to have great detail. So they've got it pretty engineered well. So, you know, the ability to have those parts and hopefully not be too darned expensive is good. It encourages you to get it because you're not going to get stuck with having to buy a new airbrush. You know, because I have like basically $40 airbrushes, and I do have $25 airbrushes. I bought some Harbor Freight airbrushes, and those have been great. And you know, I mean, you know, ultimately no parts. I never bought a second of the airbrushes from Harbor Freight. I should have. I think that'll be enough purple for now. But I should have bought one just to have parts, because it's actually not a bad airbrush. The one I have, the first, well, it's the only one I have of the ones from them, is a copy sort of the ones from Badger, old Badger 150, which is my very first airbrush. I was talking to my mom about it the other day, and she doesn't remember getting it. She knows my dad must have been the one that, she thought I asked for it. I'm like, no, I didn't ask for an airbrush. I said I might have talked about an airbrush, but I never definitely asked about it, because I was pretty young. I love it. I mean, but their newer one, they have a brand new one called the Avanti. My friend Keith got one. I haven't actually really grilled him. I don't think he's used it much. But he got it during the pandemic, so it's been around, but I think that one was in an airbrush kit. I think he has the same as the one that they're doing now in the store. But it's $26 or $7, I don't know, at Harbor Freight, and it's not a bad airbrush. But again, I don't think they have any parts. I was on Harbor Freight's website, and I saw nozzle and tip and needle. I was like, oh my gosh, they have parts. Well, no, it's for their spray guns. But there's tons of great stuff out there. You don't really have to go too crazy. So I'm going to use, I tried to buy glaze medium. I mean, this is not it. And it is hard to get, like easily. Most of the stores, we don't have a ton of stores in our area. But none of them had it. But I looked up GW's versions, and Lamian medium is basically a glazed medium. So I went and bought it. It wasn't, I was preferring to just buy the one from Vallejo, but nobody had it. Which is a bummer, because I like their bottle size. You know, it's not too big. And I don't think I need a ton of glaze medium. Who knows? Maybe I'll get really good at glazing. I mean, I've done glazing before, but never with a medium. Well, that's not true. I've used contrast mediums sort of as with contrast paints as a glaze medium. But what you want is it to have like the properties of the paint still, but flow a little better. And there are things like flow improver and stuff like that. They're okay. But when you're doing real glazing, you're putting it over a larger area, and you want it to have the same. You know, when you thin with like paint, you lose some of the qualities of the. When you thin it with water, you lose some of the qualities of. I don't think that's thin enough. Of the paint that you need. Yeah, it's not thin enough. And so when you use a medium, it will keep it close. I don't want to do this. I need an actual bottle of distilled water here. It's fine. I mean, I generally don't care, but I'm trying to make this as smooth as possible, and I feel the distilled water is sort of. I definitely use it on my airbrush. Wow, did I drop the napkin? What did I do? Well, there's a napkin here. So yeah, I'm one of the people that uses my hand or my thumb as the palette to check how it's working. Definitely working the paint, you get used to like the flow, and I'm not used this silicone bowl that much. A little bit lately. I love it because it dries and it pops right out. It generally pops out on its own, but I can't necessarily see the flow of it inside the bowl. This looks like it's about right. So I need to get used to how visually it looks to know that it's ready to it'll be ready and work for priming. Let's see here. Okay, so this guy's done. Well, these other things are done. Let's see how it goes. So, you know, I just use a very light touch. Focus. I should be using a mini holder. Yeah, it's not flowing. Oh, it's sort of flowing. Still not probably loose, not wet enough. But you want it to flow off your brush easily. So I'm using a dinky brush. Partly a bad idea because number one, the paint will dry almost immediately in the brush. I do have a better I have a lot of good brushes, but I don't necessarily use them. But this is something you probably should use this stuff on. Let's see though if it'll get there. But I like using these brushes this seems pretty good now, I don't know. Let me put it on a holder though. I did buy the new holder. I was kind of hoping Nikki would try it out. I've been wanting her to paint with me. She's good. I've used this one before, but I went to the GW store and I'm always like, I'll buy more than I need just so that these guys, I mean, that store has been there forever. The one near us folded. This one's out in Thousand Oaks. So it's a different shape. Scott has this one, and it seems good. I like the bigger one, you know, as far as it feels right in my hand. I have larger hands, but I used one of these in Germany last year. I was going to borrow one again. I mean, I used it at a painting thing we did, which was awesome, that Sebastian's group does. And, you know, like 10, 12 people showed up, and there were other people playing games too. And everybody was super nice and loaning me stuff because I didn't have anything, right? I needed, as I think I mentioned in the stream before, I needed that orange for these Hearthkin, and we didn't have any of the GW one, and somebody loaned me the Army Painter one. It's a great orange. I think this orange. Where is it? Griffhound orange is similar. I think it's a similar color. I actually want to try it out and see. I crazily bought more Hearthkin. I do not need minis. It's great. You know, I mean, they were super nice. I really like that holder, but, well, let me just use it for a little bit here. I haven't used it for only just like a couple days. But yeah, you want to kind of, it's good to hold the miniature with something like this. You've seen me use, I use pill bottles. I use wooden dowels. I say I use them, but I don't see it here. Oh, here it is. Wooden dowels is great. Has a piece of poster tack on it. Holds the miniature really well. It's good. I mean, you know, any of these are great. I do like, you know, like poster tack is good. It does a pretty good job, but you kind of have to like work it to make sure that it's going to really hold. And just these vise heads on these are great. The downer is they don't make these anymore. And the reason why that's sad is they have a removable head that can be mounted on other things. I believe it's a standard head that you can use from like a tripod. And so you could mount it on like another thing. If you were to, you could have two hands. I don't know. I like actually holding the miniature with the hand that with one of the hands that I'm using to paint, because it binds your hands together with the miniature so that you don't shake. Like any movement is synchronized with your other movements of your hands, right? So you can do much more fine detail. Of course, there's no paint on this. I don't need white, but I can do a tiny, tiny bit of white. But yeah, it holds your hands together, and it makes it so that you can do fine detail work. So I'm putting a little bit of white on there, and that's okay. What I'll probably end up doing is a washover. Hey, thanks Cast Off Crown for the follow. I'm busy painting some Warhammer. Wow, look at that. Something came off of that. Huh. So something came off. Thanks for following. I'm not sure what's going on there. Must have been some overspray, maybe. I sprayed these at Sebastian's. That is an issue too. Like if you get anything on there that it makes it so that it doesn't stick well. Yipes. Anyway, so I like, and you don't have to buy any of these types of things. This was $12.50 at the GW store nearest us. But it's cool. It's definitely a different kind of a feel. And you know, you can get up closer because look how, now I think one of the things they did was more differentiation between their styles. So this one does a pretty large, I don't know if they both do 40 millimeter, maybe this maxes out at 40 millimeter, but it has several stages, right, of gripping. So you have this lower one, this one here. They have another one that will hold much, much larger bases that is based on this one. I don't own one of those. I don't really have that many gigantic miniatures, but, so this one has stage too. It's basically, these look like they're kind of similar. So maybe just, and it actually the jaws, it's big, it does bigger. I don't know if you can see that. So it's pretty big there. And then here's this one. But it's not bad, and it's certainly light, and it's less plastic. So there you go, that's all a plus. So there we go. But it holds it great. It does not come off easily. You can rotate it, it's not a big deal. Although you can just rotate the deal here. Anyway, so let's try this out. Too much yammering. But it's pretty good. It feels weird. I mean, actually, because I have been using the other one so much lately. A little bit too much paint, but whatever. Ooh, that's way too much paint. So, finger palette. I saw a video where they had actually a Japanese company was making a thumb. That's too much. An actual thumb palette. What I really need is a wet palette on my thumb. One of the things you can do, so I was just using a toothpick there to clean off some of the paint that I had applied too much on. You can varnish the miniature and then do the next step, and it will protect your work underneath that. Wow, it's now not coming out. Anyway, I'm being too precious about it. I don't really put that much effort into these. It's just a... But you want it to flow, and I feel, again, probably not the right brush, actually. Let's see if I should just switch to one of the other ones. It's got a lot of paint in it, but it sure isn't coming out of there. But you know, it has no belly. A belly is this part of the brush. So here, it's this area here in the mid part here that holds the paint. You don't want the paint to get too close to the ferrule. You can see here that I've gotten some close to this. This is because I'm using it as with contrast paints. Contrast paints are terrible because they will go all the way. They're fluid enough that you're going to have that problem. You don't have to have a tiny brush to paint tiny elements. You just have to have a good point. This is an okay point, but let's see what it'll do. It's actually kind of already bent. So I generally try to use like the synthetics for any abusive painting styles. So it's an okay, it's definitely holding paint, but it's not, the tip's not great. So I'll probably switch to another one. I've been using, this is a 2 or 3, yeah, it's a 2. I've been using 4s and really loving them. I don't know why I'm not using one right now. I don't have one right here, is really the truth of the matter. But let's get one, we need it. The 4s have the better, these are inexpensive brushes. It's actually got a pretty good point. I don't love the 2s, the 1s are the weakest. Let me see if I can show you one here. I do have a lot of brushes, so this is a 5, but you can see how fine the point is. Pretty good on this one. And that's a massive belly to hold paint. But, egads. So this is a 3, it's pretty good. It's got a pretty good point. And again, these are not great bristles, you know, I mean, they're fine. They hold paint well, they do a good job. People love, this is the one that I mostly use. It's kind of beat up though. The size I mostly use. But it has a great point. It does a really good job. It'll hold the paint. It will keep it from drying out too quickly. Of course, this brush here is a little beat up because I do a lot, you know, contrast paints are hard on your brushes. They definitely soak into ferrule. You can actually see this for sure on this one. Wow, the bristles don't look that great once I got paint in there. Wow, nothing is coming off it. There we go. It's not bad though. But you can really move pretty quickly and you don't have to, the number one thing about it is you don't want to have to keep going back to the palette. Is, you know, having the larger belly. And when you're using traditional paints, and this is a traditional acrylic here, not a contrast acrylic, you want it to not go completely down the bristles. That was kind of messy, but it doesn't matter. These are, you know. Yeah, this has got a weird hook to it. But that's fine for now. Let me get a better one. They do develop hooks. You can rejuvenate sable brushes better, but I gotta tell you, I don't love using sable. I mean, you know, it's animal fur. I don't think they're getting that. They're not. I don't think they're shaving sables to get the hairs. So it's always been a bother of mine. I'm actually shocked that there's not. I mean, you know, it's. I don't imagine there's that many brushes being made with sable, but who knows? I mean, there's different kinds of sable too. So. Okay, well this is a lot wetter, so let's see what we get here. I actually don't usually do this. Well, I'm actually supposed to be doing another miniature here. I don't know what I'm doing on this one. It hasn't been dry brushed yet. It's okay. So yeah, one of the things you need for the paint to do is to actually stay in place. If it's too wet with like a water thinner, it will pool too much, right? You'll end up having, particularly with like contrast paints, you have problems where what they call coffee staining, where it pools in areas. And if you use like the medium, it allows you to make it smoother. Now, I know this, but I did not spend, that'll be enough for this one because I want to use the one I'm actually supposed to be painting. This one here, you know, it looks pretty good now, but like, it was not great as far as, I mean, I have more to do on this one, but it wasn't great as far as the coverage, smooth coverage. And that's the one, and you know, blues are tough, and marines are tough because they have a lot of smooth, flat, not flat, but smooth surfaces that makes it a challenge. So I'm trying to do a little bit of edge highlighting. You don't want to go too crazy, although I mean, I see plenty of GW stuff that it's all over the place. But for me, it's kind of wear, or it's, you know, there's other things that you could be doing with it, so I don't, meaning what it's meant to represent. But I have problems with white, and this paint actually is at the right consistency here. So I'll do a little bit of this. I do want to paint the Space Marines. I have not painted that many Space Marines in my time painting GW stuff. I will tell you that using the, I should put some dust on this. This is like a dusty planet, so I will do some sort of dusty stuff on this, the boots here. I have pigments from, you can buy like specific dust pigments. I think Vallejo makes some. I'm sure MK Interactive makes some. Is it AK Interactive? But MK, MIG Ammo, that's the other one. I actually like MIG Ammo stuff. There were some issues with AK Interactive. I mean, I like their varnish and stuff, but goodness gracious. I don't, you know, I mean, it's all wrapped up in all kinds of weird stuff. Anyway, but you can see it's not too hard. And I haven't gone back to the palette for a long time on this. The brush holds a lot of paint when you have a larger belly brush. And as long as it's got the point, now the tip is dried out here because I was using the edge, but there's still paint in there. And you know, for sure, there are some other types of brushes that I'm sure sables are probably better in that regard. I don't know though. Here's the deal. Does it absorb paint? I think hair is more likely to absorb the moisture than synthetic. It's not in a base holder because I'm not painting that one anymore. You have the same miniature handler, but smaller than this one. Wow, this is the only one I've seen of this size. I'm sorry, Joe, you might have said that a while ago. I do like them, but you can see I'm resting my hands together. It helps give me some stability. Actually, you know what? I think I need some even zoomier glasses. I think these are zoomier. Scott gave me these because don't remember what he didn't like about them. These got real glasses now. These are pretty great. I mean, I have not bought any reading glasses. I have plenty of prescription glasses that don't do this. But, ooh, so maybe I don't have that on there hard enough. I need to go one more step, because this is a smaller base. I just poked that off with my finger. So it self-aligns, and then you put it back. Okay, that should stick. But my goal is to actually play this with Nick Murphy, because he actually is a Tyranid player. But he hasn't played that many games, and I haven't played 40K in ages. Maybe 7th edition? That seems like too long, but I think that's probably right. But as long as you keep using the brush, it doesn't dry up. It's terrible. I don't like making a mistake. That's not a big mistake, but I just want it to be a little finer there. But I definitely, these are a little bit evenly spaced. It's fine. You definitely can work faster when you have a brush that stays moist with the paint, which is great. Shouldn't do 3 on all these. I keep doing 3, which is silly. I want 2. I was painting those Hearthkin, and I know that they're supposed to be clones, I believe is what they're all. But I was like, well, because, you know, I was doing different skin tones and stuff like that, which, you know, I don't want to paint everything the same. It's boring. Drying up. So that's a long way with that. And I'm using white, which white is not my favorite paint to do any of this type of stuff with, because I'm not good with white. I don't know what I need to learn to make that better, but so a lot of these, I'm doing these, and they're kind of already there because of the dry brushing. Cool. We had a tremendous amount of wind. Had a Santa Ana conditions here in LA, and tree branches and leaves everywhere. We have to clean all that up too. It's not really working as I would be hoping here. I maybe don't have, there it is. Now you can fix, if you over apply it, you feel that you've over applied it, you can obviously just go back in with a little bit of the color, like there's a splotch, and thin it up, right? You know, with the the purple, I can just add a little bit of purple over it, and it will lessen the impact of that. If you feel that you don't like it, hey, you know what? I should rotate this because that hoof is hard to get at. These talons are scary. Paint is not coming out. Might need a reset here on the brush. A lot of paint in there though. These are not working out. My hand is not quite in the right position, but it will be fine. So that is done. Let's do some of the pink. I think I am dropping the napkin here. I don't remember which pink I used. I have a lot of Volupus pink, but what was the other color there? I'm missing. Oh, it's the purple. I've been trying to put everything back in the rack as soon as I'm done because I do not. Looking for it is crazy. I was watching a video from a great YouTuber, but he was saying he doesn't put his paint in racks. He puts them in a box. Hey, Andrew Ginger. He said he likes them in the box because you end up going through that and mixing, shifting the paints. I suppose if you're painting all the time, that's probably okay, but I don't like digging. I want to know the colors. Now, I occasionally have to dig because I know the area that it's in, but there's so many of a certain color that it looks like it's the same. I put that purple away, and I actually have something I need to paint. It's been bothering me. I mean, you don't have to do any of it. I'm just being consistent, which is not necessarily important. Okay. But it's good to have multiple brushes around for different purposes. I don't like to use good brushes to do dry brushing. I don't like to use good brushes to base paint, you know, do the primer, maybe even the base paint. Depends on like what you're doing. If you're going for an overall color, or if you're going to go in and do it in specific areas, you might need a little bit better. So let's use this pink that I now have 2 bottles of because I bought the wrong one. I thought I didn't have this pink, and I got it home, and as soon as I opened up, I had this. I think I opened it and then looked over and I saw I had the paint. This is not the color though, but let's just try it anyway. They can have a different tongue. So here's where I like a wet palette better, because I like drawing the paint out to see if it looks right. Yeah, this is a redder pink. But yeah, if you pull it out on your paint palette, you can see, you can get it to the right flow without necessarily painting it on your finger, which is a good thing. It's a pretty good color too, though. But let's compare it here. I think I used the one pink that I had. It's not that different. With Candace, the what do they call that? I have a familiar pink that I got in the, finally got some speed paints, Army Painter speed paints. And I was actually trying to find, I swear this paint was called Starship Gray or Spaceship Gray in the Vallejo Express Paints line. And in the US, it is not called that. It's called like Space Gray or something. It's certainly possible that I misread that, but I don't feel I did. But I've been trying to get it because I used it for one of my, I used it for the weapons on the Hearthkin, Votan, Leagues of Votan Hearthkin. These guns. I'm not really, they're called flesh borers. I should read some of the lore. I don't know a lot about the Tyranid. I like reading that stuff, but I haven't really had as much time to read those things as I used to. Although I did read about the Votan, as I was mentioning earlier. I knew that they, before I even bought any, that they were clones. When they announced them, because I had friends that were into the squats, as they were called originally in 40K. And so when they announced the Votan, Leagues of Votan, I read some of the stuff on them. I will admit I'm probably going to buy that Battle Force box. I don't really need it, but sure would be fun to have it and paint them. They're cool looking minis. Now I have the Tau that I purchased 20 years ago, or maybe not quite 20 years ago. I don't remember when those came out. Those haven't been, I don't think I painted any of them, so I don't know. The good thing is the Tau haven't changed much since those were released, so, I mean, the rules for them have changed, but so you don't have to like paint everything that you can't see. You try to get as much as you can, but like it's pretty far in there. Like, I don't want to make a mess, but I'd like to get it covered on there pretty good. So some of that you can do things like assemble the miniature before you paint it, which is a completely valid and cool way to paint your minis. That means that you won't make too much of a mess. But I'm kind of impatient in that regard. I don't really love tracking that stuff. I mean, I have a hard enough time assembling and making sure I have the pieces. So for me to, you know, I tend to paint more than one mini at a time, which some people don't. Some people aren't comfortable doing that. I definitely assemble them one at a time because once they're off the sprue, you have no idea the number and you have to rely on, you know, I was assembling the Space Marines for this, and there were some problems with it. Like in the sprue that I was working with, there are several pieces that are not in the directions. So if you have any of those kinds of problems, you're just going to make a mess if you don't have it correctly noted what each part is. I think that is correct. I mean, you know, a lot of these colors, I think the game colors we were talking about it recently, the game colors from Vallejo, their names are basically similar to the original GW colors because, you know, GW doesn't even use those colors anymore. But I saw one paint that was called Mithril. Now, you know, Mithril's not their name. That is been used for longer than GW was around. Yeah, they have really crazy names. I mean, I wonder about Eldar, right? That's Cthulhu stuff. I think Lovecraft or whatever has mentioned. Never actually looked up what the Eldar means, but they don't call them Eldar anymore. They call them Eldari. This is a cool pink. It's a little weepy there. So I'm using this one straight out of the pot, which I don't necessarily do. One thing I have not done with these paints, and I know that they're great for it, is airbrushing them. I kind of wanted to try to do the Marines airbrushing the color. Because boy, that would be smooth. You know, I mean, obviously with regular paints, if you do that, it's smooth, but thinking if I did it with the right amount of contrast medium, it might be pretty good. Yeah, these are a little bit more scratchy. The armor here. Oof, too much. Should be fine though. Tongue, don't forget the tongue. I do like that these are all different sculpts. I have to actually brighten up the teeth too. I need to do that as well. So, you know, I have multiple miniature holders. I could just put these all on miniature holders, but this is not too much of a problem. brush is getting a little okay, more purple. Too much. I don't know that I painted that those connections. I did on those. Did on those. What have I not done? I didn't do these. That is one of the things that is hilarious to me. Like, you think you've got it all covered, and then you look and you somehow miss something. Got a little bit on his finger, his hand there. It's fine. I don't think I did that. These colors are closer than I realize all the time, you know, between the paint lines, you know. Oh, there, I forgot all that down there too. I mean, you know, you can paint these however you want. It doesn't matter. I'm just painting them to be similar to the color schemes from GW. I mean, I don't know if I'll have Nick tell you about his painting scheme for his Tyranids, which is very exciting. I'm eager to see some of it. I hope he will bring some of them over when he does, when and if we get to film this. But I do love that these are all different poses. It's pretty amazing. Really cool. I think this is a little bit more red than the pink, but it's fine. If I contrast mediumed it, it probably would make it a little lighter. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious, there's more. Well, I guess it's if you can see it. They have like joints. Only that guy seems to have it. I also push it on the you know, like the amount of shading I do with the undercoating. I'll show you in a moment on the Marines. I ended up doing a lot of highlighting on one of them. He's going to be like the main unit theoretically. That I don't know if it's really that different. I don't know if I'm focused here. I'm sorry. But I kind of want him to be more noticed. So I thought if I made him brighter, you would see him more. Now, of course, that could be bad if you're really playing the game and you don't want people to notice that guy coming in from the side, but I mean, anybody with their knowledge of what's going on, you generally have to have what represented on the mini of what your unit can do, right? You have the right kind of weapons on it and stuff like that, because it's not fair to try to have to retain what your opponent's minis do. Wow, too much paint. Yeah, this pink's different. It's okay. I mean, I love that this actually has a different pose, right? He doesn't have his tongue out. It's very cool. Cool. These are new. Just make sure these others are ready. I got most of the stuff I've supposed to paint on here. But yeah, so on these Marines here, this guy, I did a little bit more zenithal brightness. Now, that's cheating it, right? They're all in the same space, you know, they shouldn't have too much unless they're in the shade for some reason, but I just thought it'd be cool to have him be more distinct. Like this one is going to be more distinct because he is a lieutenant, he's got more stuff going on, he's more of a veteran. You know, I can't even remember the lore. I was never into the Space Marines that much, but you know, they've been around forever, right? These characters are old. I thought I read some of those books, but I don't think I did. I really don't remember any. I was lucky. I don't remember any of the any kind of lore about that stuff. But I mean, I know I have some in my head because I know more things about like the weird kind of aspects of some of the Marines. Okay. So, back to these. These are going to get, so I'm going to use a little bit of the Lamian medium. Is this still wet? Sure is. One of the things about putting medium into your paint is it takes longer to dry. And that's a blessing and a curse sometimes, depending on what you're doing. So we need to get their tone of their flesh figured out here. And so what I've been doing is I used a sepia. I feel that should be closer to that. Anyway, so this is Seraphim sepia. It is some of the new versions of the shades. When you use a medium, on the shade. It's going to make it lighter, which isn't necessarily ideal. I kind of want these to be dark. Maybe I will just, did I do that on these? I don't feel like I did. I mean, I think of these as bony, but they're not really. They look like bones, but I think it's, you know, they've got flesh. Ooh, let's close that purple up for now. Can't put it back because there's already a purple in that, or the pink. There's already a pink in that spot. I need to paint a lot of pink. I really should give it to Nick. He might have it. He might not. I do think I just put this on. Yeah, if I put that paint in a wet palette, because that's a traditional paint, number one, it would already get thinned out by the wet palette somewhat. And then it would keep it pretty much perfectly hydrated, especially if you let the palette do the thinning. Boy, the little bits of paint that dry. Now this is a shade, but it still has leaves a film when it's dry. So I am using the new brush with this. Well, this is a shade. It's not quite as vile as the contrast paints as far as infiltrating the into the ferrule, but it's not good either. You really shouldn't get paint into it if you can help it. It'll definitely extend the life of your brush. So I'm going to try to not paint inside that little opening that I've been painting pink. So poking around is what kills your brush, and so I am definitely poking around here. See that? I wonder if that's supposed to be a color. I wonder if I did it already. I did not. Don't know that I need it, but I will look it up. I painted that, which I would not want to have pink on it. I mean, I would want to have pink on it. But if you're delicate with the brush, like laying it on the miniature itself, it will definitely help extend the life of your bristles. You don't want to poke, and that's why it shouldn't be bad with contrast paints, but I tend to just really jam it in there to get everything covered, and that's not a great thing. But you can see these shades just do a nice job. This is the new one. It's a little different than the previous version of the shade, but it's close. And some of this is not going to be that visible because it's on a dark, like I was a little bit more, you know, it really is hard to tell when you're airbrushing. You probably get better as you do it much, much more. Like if you have the right amount of coverage, is this going to give me the brightness that I want? I actually went back and painted that one I was telling you. I highlighted it a little more because I wanted it to, I was seeing it was one of the first ones I painted, and I was seeing it wasn't coming out. Oh look, this has a bit of a piece of a tail or some sort of a, I don't know, piece of a, maybe it's just a part of like the growth of what the Tyranid do. I need to read more about them to, you know, of course everything's basically from the view of man or near man, I guess. At least in the stuff I've read. See, I kind of want him to be this weird color, a little bit of a, I've got some on this side, didn't do the other half. So that's pretty good. See if I got most everything. Sure looks it. Okay, next one. But yeah, you should clean your brush while you're working. That was what I was saying, like I was going to start over with the white earlier. So yeah, you can see this has gotten to the ferrule pretty much, or close. So I will clean this out. Now, it's still going to have the moisture of the, I'll try to dry it a little bit here, but the water will help that paint flow into the ferrule area, and you want it to last longer. You definitely want it to last longer on a, you know, a brush that's expensive. The Winsor Newtons, the Da Vinci, the Raphael, any of those sable ones that are very expensive, they, I mean, I would imagine even the synthetics, they're handmade. They're like grouping the fibers, you know, or the hairs to be the best, and rotating them to be at the right point. So, you know, they're not inexpensive. So you definitely need to take that into consideration and care for them if you can't, if you're able, you know. And learn how to do that. So I remember my high school teacher showing me how to care for brushes. And he, you know, I was watching somebody that was, don't remember who it was, it might have been Adam on Tabletop Minions, but he was washing it on the side of his hand. And my teacher taught me at the time to do it in the palm of my hand, like you have a lot more of your skin has like raised edges, you know, like your handprint and all that stuff that help clean the paint. And so it was funny, I hadn't even thought about it forever, but I saw Adam do it. I'm like, oh, interesting. I mean, it's not that different, but I remembered my teacher showing me that. You know, I had a bar of Army ration paint that I used to clean the brushes that he probably gave to me because, you know, he had some of those types of supplies. But I was like, oh yeah, I remember very clearly now him teaching me to clean the brushes. And, you know, we were using, pretty sure we were using Winsor Newton. You know, we had, I mean, I don't think they were that expensive back then, but it certainly is an art to paint them, you know, to put them together properly. And but yeah, it's kind of, you know, that's the kind of the odd thing. I mean, I know that they're still teaching painting. I follow a girl on Twitter. I should check to see if she's moved to Blue Sky. I just, you know, I follow painting, and I saw her work, and she just graduated high school, and she is just great. And she's actually painting, so, you know, that's still happening sometimes, but most people learn to use, you know, it's digital to do it, painting styles and stuff. And that's definitely something you need to know. You should not learn how to do that. Electronic chainmail. What did you spam us with? Red sable is cheaper. That is what I've heard too, and I need to buy more. They're just expensive. They're just really expensive. I have Winsor Newton. I have some sable brushes from Monument Hobbies. I think they've changed the names of their brushes or the availability of stuff. But their standard sables are nice, and you know, I was definitely looking at the Raphael and Da Vinci ones, and they had multiple types of sable. But I mean, obviously, maybe, I don't know. I use Super Series 7 forever. I only used them on miniatures a little bit because putting it on a canvas and stuff is going to wear it out too. But man, you really wear it out on a miniature. You're really poking it into weird spots. And that it absolutely develops a hook on the end of the bristles very quickly, and you just want to avoid that if all possible. So one of the things I do is I used I've used, this is another thing my teacher showed me back in the day, was these was this stuff. Actually, I've got one that's the one I've opened, and it's forever. I've showed this before. It doesn't have a barcode on it, so it lasts a long time. I bought another one of these quite a few years ago, and there it is, and it's got a barcode on it. I don't think I've used it at all. Yeah, it's still fresh. Now, use this, and then you leave it, and then this is another one I bought from Monument, Gentastics Drunken Brush Goop. I did use this. It seems pretty good. And then I have this too, which is, I've used it for washing my hands, and no, I've never opened this one up. Bought it at the same time as I bought that last one. It's been years. I thought it kind of reminded me of the Army brush, the surplus brush soap that my teacher had us use, which worked great. I mean, that's one of the things you should, like anything else with any of your hobbies, you should pay attention to adjacent things that make the same thing so that you don't have to pay the expensive hobby rates for that stuff. It is definitely a way to save a little bit on any of your hobby stuff. That's why, you think, oh, I could use the paints from Apple Barrel. So I used a little bit of that in the beginning, but I was like basically converted to using good paints pretty quickly, painting miniatures. I used to paint with Testors paints, which were enamels back in the day. I painted, don't need that there anymore. Painted stuff, from Revell miniatures, Revell model kits. So I had a lot of early kind of work on that. But yeah, I don't know how using any. So I watch Wapelius on Twitch, and he's an amazing painter. You should absolutely check his streams out. I often will raid him. I think in the evenings is when he streams. He does lots of commission painting, but he's super talented, and he paints with oil paints, miniatures. And I believe him that it's probably pretty great, but I just don't like. I've painted in oil paints back in the day. I haven't for a long time. I actually moved to acrylic pretty quickly. Particularly because I was airbrushing. But he's blending the paints on the miniature, and really fast, really impressively fast, and they look phenomenal. It's a skill that I would kind of like to learn, but I really don't need to buy a bunch of more paints. And he makes his own paints with using linseed oil and pigment. So he was painting some Star Wars Inquisitors. I use stuff like Apple Barrel for train. Absolutely. I was at, well anyway, and he was painting Inquisitors for Star Wars, and he was doing their lightsabers for Shatterpoint, and man, they looked phenomenal. I was at Joanne recently, and they had gallon bottles of black paint that looked pretty good. I've seen, I don't know if I've used their paint before, but I'm like, wow, that would be fantastic for terrain. And you're not handling terrain as much as you handle the models, so I think it's a great, oh yeah, these got eggs coming out here. I don't know, I've got to figure all that out. But yeah, definitely don't use the Games Workshop paints for painting terrain. I mean, although I'm sure they would love you to, but that's got to be expensive. I mean, can you imagine? And you know, rattle can is a valid time to use that. I mean, my friend Sebastian is a rattle can artist. He's just so fast and so good, and has no problem going for that. I'm not a big spray can guy, never have been. I don't like using it. I don't like it getting everywhere. I don't like, you know, even with masks and all kinds of stuff, I just, cleaning it up. You have to use solvent, and I don't love using solvents. I mean, acrylic is like the roughest stuff I like to deal with. I mean, not acrylic, excuse me, alcohol. I mean, there are alcohol-based paints, so. And I guess they have alcohol in some of like the cleaning and airbrush solvents, you know, like I have airbrush thinner right here, and I guess it has alcohol in it. Dilutes without adhesion, doesn't say. Probably don't want you to know, but it's like, I'm sure it doesn't say non-toxic on here, whereas acrylic will say that, but that doesn't mean you should be, you know, eating your paints, and it sucks. I don't. I know people that they're big time on licking their airbrush. We were with a friend in Germany, and he was really licking brushes. You know, he's wanting to make the points. He likes doing that. I mean, occasionally, like, I really don't like putting, I know the pigments, the horror stories of some of the pigments that they use in paints. He was doing it after cleaning it, though. So, I mean, you know, that's the thing. You're definitely better off if you can do it after you've really cleaned the brush and you're just trying to keep the point. But like, what I do is I use the brush cleaner, and then I roll it in my hand to a point and then let it dry. And that's how you can restore bristles, particularly natural bristles, is by doing that, cleaning it and then rolling it into a point and then letting it dry. But again, look at adjacent stuff, hobbies, it's really great. I mean, you know, they charge, brushes are the one place where I think you probably definitely, I mean, you get your money's value most of the time for more expensive brushes. I just know, like, as I said, I used lots of Winsor Newton in the day, and I just know I would not want to use that. I have some, I've used them for the brush for painting some miniature stuff, but I wouldn't normally do that. Maybe for the shading, for, you know, for doing some sort of glazing if you're going to do that. Anyway, that looks pretty good. We'll see how quickly these dry. A lot of cobalt and cadmium and vermilion. Yeah, see, there's the problems. Didn't help Van Gogh's mental health. No joke. Or he ate a lot of cobalt, cadmium, and vermilion. Yes. I don't know. You know, they use things like antifungal stuff in these paints. You absolutely wouldn't want it. I mean, it's not going to kill you, but it might not be. I don't know. If you had a lot of it, it could kill you. I don't know. but it's just not good to eat paint. It's not good to put the brush in your mouth. And I absolutely will not point a brush. So I have a, you can still get these and they're great. This paint cup has these rills in here that you can use to, I'll just do it, might as well clean the brush, spend a little bit of time. You can use to bring your brush to a point. You run it in there, and it does a good job. I don't know if you can see that. But it does a good job bringing it to a point, and then if you roll it in your hand. But that's the better way to do it. I just, you know, it's stupid. I don't even know why. It's not a habit I've ever really had, but yet I will still do it occasionally. I'm like, what am I doing? Don't want to take any chances with that stuff. Nasty stuff. Okay. Hope I'm not getting paint on this shirt. I like this shirt. It's already starting to dry into a little film on these brushes, on the brush. I'm pretty guilty of brush licking if I'm not aware of what I'm doing. It is weird though. I never did it. Like when I was in school, I never did it. And I did a good amount of standard media painting. But like your brain, for me, it's like, I know it'll make a great point. And that is why I bought, I just want to avoid it. That's why I bought like this this GW paint pot, you know, the brush pot. It's great. It's not cheap. I think we got them for under $10 back when I bought these, and they're more expensive now. I think they're 12 or something, maybe even more than that. But I like them because I'm not going to drink from them. I was showing it with this, which is a 3D printed brush holder, but I'm not going to drink from this. Like, that's the other thing I don't want to do, is drink from. I have mugs to hold brushes, and I actually do not want them. I'm probably going to 3D print some things for it because now brushes I'm not going to drink out of that pot, but yeah, I specifically don't want to even drink the paint water. Ugh. I'm also a cleaner. I probably drive some friends crazy because I will clean the stuff because I want to know. Like, Sebastian is a very go guy, and he really is fast. He teases me like saying how fast he is, but his paint, like his version of this Citadel, he's used it thousands of times. Mine, I probably used hundreds of times. Mine looks pretty clean. Right now I'm actually using it for clean water, and it's just so covered you can't even tell that the water's dirty. And I actually want to clean the water out when it's dirty because I don't want it to affect any of my light colors, particularly whites. And now, I'm not a big fan of white paints, I'll tell you that, but actually, you know what? I'm painting on here, and I painted these with, I might have painted these with an actual, yeah, with a white paint, not a primer. You should definitely use a primer. Because it kind of like, the white can reactivate, like it gets, I'm not even sure why, but it breaks down and starts to like get milky and weird. And so I try not to do that very often. Whenever I would paint white on the miniature, and then like I'm covering something up to try to fix it, when I'm doing like the contrast paints, it'll get milky and stuff, and I thought, oh man, I'm too soon, you know? And then I was doing it with the same paint on these, one of these minis anyway, and it still did it. I'm like, well, crud, what am I doing wrong? I just don't think the paint is great, like fully curing the pigment, whatever its nature, you know, maybe the chalky nature of it, I don't know. There's another arm right underneath there. Great. I do like these minis though. They're really dynamically posed and lots of different poses. I don't remember exactly what they are on the Tyranid, I need to look at that box. It's been a long time since I looked at it, the Space Hulk. But there's a bunch of standard Gene Stealers, and I feel they looked very similar. So they probably had a couple of different poses. These have quite a few different poses. I mean, let me see here. I don't feel that any of them are repeating. I mean, they will. I'm just looking at it from the top down. From the tail, right? The tail itself is a pretty good indicator. And they're different. Let me see if I'll show you here. I think that is all of the sepia I need right now. The other downer about the change of the sepias, the shades, is they were in bigger bottles. So they've changed the formulation and the bottles were bigger, which is a bummer. Feels like a 3D printed fiber there. Where'd that come from? Must have come from that thingy here. Doesn't look like it. Pro painter for Vallejo has a custom paint studio where he has a brush clearing station, so he always has clean water. That's cool. I don't have that benefit. I have here a Masterson. It's probably a little tight. I can zoom back out so you can see it. I probably showed it before. There's a smaller version, like Green Stuff World has one that's actually a pretty cool idea. It's a tinier pool of water. But this has a reservoir. It's coming out right now. Has a reservoir that you can push the button and it'll drain. And it's pretty great. Like, it has a large enough pool that it doesn't become completely filled up with color very, very quick. You know, I mean, I don't know how much I need to worry about it, truthfully. I've sometimes noticed that it doesn't really matter, but like, I have had pink, white turn into pink because I've had red water. And you know, you could just get up and change the paint or the water, but this is great. And then there's a reservoir underneath that that it drains into, and you have to dump it. But I love it because it's a huge bottle. I don't think you can see it, but it's a pretty big bottle of water, and so probably like a quart or something like that, or a liter. No, not a liter. Well, maybe a liter. Green Stuff World has a small, and there's cheap ones. You can buy them for $10 on Amazon. There's a smaller bottle, more like, do I have anything here? You know, probably like a 16-ounce cup, maybe smaller. And then it has a very long stream of water going to a very small pool. Exactly the same thing. You push the button and it drains out. I like it. It's actually a little smaller, but I honestly kind of feel that the pool is a little too small. But I have not used one, so I don't know. I don't even think I've ever seen it in real life. But this is great. Masterson makes some nice stuff, and that's pretty inexpensive. I think it was $20 maybe. Oh, you're gonna get a paint setup area? That's awesome. Well, I'm happy to have this here now, and it's great. I have the, I love having this reservoir though. It's great. You know, I mean, it's a lot of water. I have to get up a bunch of times, and I can just jump down and get painting, and then, now I generally have to clean out because it gets a little slimy if there's paint in there. It's weird. And that may be because I mean, our water is good here in Southern California, but who knows? I don't use distilled all the time. I use distilled in here sometimes if I'm going to be using standard acrylic paints. I don't worry about it so much for the contrast paints. I always have a bottle of distilled, the label fell off, but I always have a bottle of distilled water nearby. Again, I've never had any real problems. It's just this level of worry that you might, I don't know, I'm not painting for a contest. Adam Smasher painted for a contest recently. He'd never done it before, wasn't really sure he was interested. And he got a gold, which is pretty exciting. I think he showed the miniature. So what do I do now since things are drying? Let's see. Let's group the ones that are really sort of done. Anybody that's got pink on their tongue is sort of done, so. So what I dry brush here with a bone shade paint. So I don't have a ton of standard acrylics anymore. The stuff I had was kind of old, and ooh, that's still wet. Don't touch that one. I want to buy new ones. I do have some. I have probably not a ton of standard Pro Acryl paints. I have a lot. I bought most of the metallics, if not all of them. I bought all the transparent acrylics because they had a yellow that was really good when I didn't actually have a good GW yellow. And then I have like a pink. I always buy pink. I'm a weirdo. I don't know why. I'm always looking for, this is a magenta. I'm always looking for this color. No, not that color. That's a gold. That's a dwarf bronze. Old Citadel dwarf bronze. Warlock purple. I really love this color, and nobody's got it exactly like it. There's some retro paints out there from, like, I can't remember what they call them, British company, that might be close, but you know, they're not available here anywhere. That's my biggest challenge is I've ordered some stuff overseas, hobby stuff, but it's not great. I ended up having, so I bought parts for one of my airbrushes, and I just had Sebastian buy it because he was buying it in Germany, and I thought it'd just be easier. Yeah, I don't know what this color is. See, the other thing about these bottles, so Vallejo and I believe Army Painter are now going to be using bottles. I wonder, like, if they're the same manufacturer. They are using clear bottles that you can see the color of the paint more clearly. These other ones are milky. Like, I have some older Vallejo colors. Where are they? I don't have a lot. I've never been the big fan of Vallejo that others are. It doesn't mean they're not good. I just haven't had any luck with them. I bought things like, here you go. I bought another pink. Let's see how close that one is. Nope. I mean, you know, this is magenta and this is Warplock purple. But now, this isn't a game color, it's a model color. You're going to be more likely to get, and I could probably look for one that says something like instead of Warplock, it might say Warlock, and that's probably the color. I love this color. I don't have the tiniest amount left. This one's pretty good. But like, what does this one look like? Both of these are kind of milky, you know? Pretty sure I used this one. We'll see here. Maybe I didn't. I might have been disappointed. Nope, I've never ever opened it. Let's find out what it looks like. I've had this for a few years too. I think I was disappointed. Yeah, it's a pink. It's a pink. And that's cool, you know? But I won't be using it for that Warplock purple. And you know, they use standard names, which is great. So there is a store here in the area-ish that has the paints from Pro Acryl. The problem is that you can't really see them, although they might have samples. I love that they put an agitator and that's what the cool thing about the stuff coming from, is this another purple? Oh, no, it's a red. It's funny when I see other painters saying that they buy pink as their first color. It's so hilarious because it's the same thing I do. Like, dang it, if they have the right pink, I'll be so happy. Warlock purple is an army painter color. Yeah, I think so. I thought that was actually Warlock purple was the color from Vallejo. If you look at their color, game color ones, I don't know if I have any game color stuff here. It was funny because our friend Sebastian was like wondering like why he never noticed that the names were basically the same names. And I said it's because we buy the standard stuff. We don't buy the game color that often. This is the problem with these though. I hope the new bottles are a little bit better. Man, I keep bringing it. See how this is like from years of like using it. I still have quite a bit. It's a light flesh color. They don't fit in the thing anymore. It's like the moisture from me handling these, it's too tight for my holder, but yet everything else seems to be fine. But in any of these older ones, they're just hard to get in and out of this holder. This is one of these ones from that I bought from Etsy from Mayhem. What is it? I always have to look at the sticker. I really like his stuff. I did watch a video of the other guy. I was saying that earlier, that he was saying don't use the racks, but Mischief Maker, he's great. His stuff is not that expensive. If you buy it in a holiday season, like any kind of a Labor Day sale or Christmas or something like that, you'll probably get a deal. I've done it every time I've needed something. I've always waited for a holiday. And it's really worth it. His stuff's great. $30 maybe, $25 likely. The GW ones are a little more expensive, but it holds a lot more paints. He has a really great design where it holds like 96 paints, which is huge. The other ones are like 72 for the Vallejo / Army Painter / any of those eyedropper bottles. I really like his stuff though. Now he uses just MDF, which is a fiber board, right? And if you get, I think, what's their names? Broken Token make one that uses plywood. Plywood is going to be better. I've had some problems with these breaking. Actually, specifically the Vallejo style ones. They're very thin. I'll show you this one here. I don't think this one's cracked, but I definitely have cracked things like this handle. So this is the neat thing about this set is you have one rack that holds a bunch of paints. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 26, 52, plus 62, 72. So that's the maximum it holds. But this cracked, like just assembling it. So one of the things you probably should do is I use like a nail file. I have a nail file somewhere. And that's what I did on the more recent versions of this. I just filed it so that it fits relatively easily. Oh, hey, look, it looks like that broke. No, that's not a break. It's just something weird happened there. Oh, no, that looks like a break. But that might have been in production thing I might have had to fix. Like it shipping. I mean, his stuff is usually not an issue, but, and he'll send you replacement stuff, but if I can make it work without wasting more material, that could have been me. I don't know. Anyway, he'll give you a little file that will tell you how to assemble it. And he's pretty quick about getting it shipped to you. I've got like brush holders and stuff like that. But the neat thing is, so you have 52 bottles in the main thing, and then 2 of these 10 ones, and these nest inside the back of the other things. So in a small footprint, you store more stuff. In the Games Workshop one, it's 8 times 48 plus another, man, it might even be another 48. That can't be right. But it holds a good chunk of, let's see there's the inside one. Oh, it's fewer. So it's 32. So 48, 32. So a second rack, and then there's a third rack that actually 2 more small racks that hold 9. The only issue is with the GW stuff is it's not designed for contrast paints. I should write him and just say, hey, you should. Now these are the shades. I have some of the old versions of the shades still that are the huge bottles. I did buy some of these like when they and I still have a few more extra to have once I knew they were reformulating the stuff. But yeah, holds another 9, so another 18. That's how you get 96 in that rack. It's amazing. And so they all nest inside, so you can carry it around, then you just set it down and pull the other pieces out. It's really wonderful, although I have most of them. I do have one rack that has some stuff inside, like the standard GW paints that I do have. And then I have none of the stuff stored inside the Army Painter ones, because it literally is only 2 more that hold another 20 total. Hey, Marie. But yeah, I love these racks. He's great. His design is my favorite one so far. The nesting is really what makes it great. If you were not insane like me, you could probably get by with like 1 rack storing most of your paints. And I'm trying not to buy lots of paints. I've been very, very good, and just like, I don't need it. Okay, this seems dry enough to do some dry brushing. But yeah, I recommend it. So we're gonna use an talk about old paint. This is Nitro. Nitro, it was a Swedish company, Marie, by the way. And they, I mean, I think they're still around. They're called Cell. It was made by Cell, but they don't make miniature paints anymore. But this was, the reason why I bought these is they're made in Britain, and they were the GW paints. They just picked up, several companies had the same, HMG I think is the manufacturer, make the paints. And so these were a good price, and then of course, not a great price, and then they started blowing them out like a year after I bought them, because they were going out, I think. And it's a little dry, but the paint's great. It really is no problem. That one's because I've used it the most. Yeah, I mean, they're not really around. It's funny how many, so I think Army Painter's from Sweden as well, but their paints are often made in Spain. Nope, they're Danish, I believe. So, you know, Spain, there's a lot of companies that make paint. Well, there's a lot of companies that their paint is made in Spain. Whether it's made by different people, I wonder. Because, as I said, HMG made, I have some of the different paints I have. Coat to Arms, looks kind of similar, doesn't it? This one actually says HMG, manufactured by HMG Paints. I believe HMG Paints makes the paints I'm almost 100% sure they make the stuff for GW again, because they used to have their stuff done in France, and I really loved whoever the French manufacturer was great. Like, some of those were my favorite paints. As a matter of fact, this pink is from an old pot that was in one of the old French manufactured paints. So this one, these are P3. I don't know if these guys are around anymore. Privateer Press, made in the UK, and I bet you it's the same model. I bet you it's this. I mean, this paint looks kind of pretty great. Supposedly, the Retributor armor that GW makes is like one of the most expensive paints, better than theoretically than Rolls-Royce paint. They were saying that on an interview with a guy named Tom on the painting phase. Great stuff. I actually really like Retributor Gold. I don't have a fresh pot. I bought this. I don't remember which guy was like making the case. So it's probably been 5 years ago, maybe 6. But I think it's still the same, and it's a great paint. It doesn't look the same though. Well, who knows? This bottle's not. I feel this bottle's a little bit better seeing through. These are ones I bought, I believe, on Amazon. I'm not happy with them because they are a little too big. They don't fit in the small Army paint. You'd think, they're close, but they're not. But yeah, so there's multiple manufacturers that use HMG paints, and I suspect there's a similar thing going on in Spain. But who cares? You know, as long as the paints are pretty good. And HMG's nice stuff, but I don't know who the French manufacturer is. Oh yeah, well, Nikki's into sewing too. She's very happy. We finally bought her a brother. She had probably 2 different old sewing machines that her mother and grandmother had given her. Like her mother was done. I think her mother had a Sears one. It was pretty nice. But we got her brother, and she's just like in heaven because it does much more stuff, and it does some embroidery, and even though she likes doing that stuff. Private trips around, they swapped the business model a few years back. What are they doing? I saw that, Chad, that it's called War Paints Fanatic. I'm very eager to check it out. This is why I've kind of held off on buying paints, because if it's truly amazing, then I'm going to want to start buying those paints. They're definitely cheaper than GW, although GW's standard paints aren't that expensive, but they give you a lot more paint in all these other brands. Ugh, paint coming off all over the place here. I took out some of the dry stuff in there. Yeah, she's a crafter. The funny thing is, she's very good, and she's painted some mini stuff back when I was doing it first time. Well, when I was doing GW stuff first time. And I'm trying to get her back in. That's one reason why I bought that little paint handle. I think that would be better. Oh, it's almost time. I should be quitting soon. I'll go a little bit longer, but I'll do some dry brushing before I go. I do have to, we have to prepare for another stream tonight. So we will be back at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I don't know if the time changed. I bet you the time changed already in Germany. So they've already fallen back, and then we will change next weekend, maybe? I don't know. So I made this. So a company called Artis Opus makes some really nice dry brush palettes, and I will probably buy one, but I just wanted to see if it was worth it. So I just laser cut some Catan tiles on a piece of MDF that I had, and it's working. Now they say you should prime it. Now the funny thing, it smells like burning still because it's a lot of etching, but it's done a pretty good job of for me, and I thought, okay, let me try priming it, and I sprayed it yesterday, but I really should have probably just used a rattle can. I don't know if I have a good black for that anyway, but let's get a brush out to do some dry brushing. Let's see what this one's like. This is their small one. I have a Army Painter. These were not terribly expensive, and they're supposed to be pretty good. I think Artis Opus makes really great stuff. I am very sad I did not have time to go look at their booth at Spiel, and I wanted to go very badly, but I think when I finally saw that they had a booth, I couldn't go over there. But I would have bought probably one of their oh, so you know what they do? One of the things that guy does is great. He actually doesn't put the paint on the brush out of the pot. He does it where he puts it on the palette so that you're getting the right amount of paint, which is very, 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 very smart. I mean, it's just like anything else. Why wouldn't you want, when I'm using regular paints, I don't want too much of it on there. So I already put too much on this brush. But getting it damp is not a bad thing. That's one thing they do, which I watched a guy reviewing it, and he couldn't figure that part out using the damping brush. What time is it where we're at, Marie? It is 12:55, so almost 1. So in 4.5 hours, we will be, is it 55? Yep, almost 1. So 4.5 hours we'll be streaming, so it's probably going to be way too late for you. But you can watch the stream later. We will be doing you can watch the VOD. It'll be on YouTube under our live tab, and of course it'll be on Twitch. So let's just do this. And the funny thing is you just put it on here, right? But he puts a little bit of the paint, and then you can touch a bit of it to get it in your brush. Now, I don't know his technique. He is very good. I watched him do a short video on how to do like a flame effect, and it was just phenomenal. Now, you know, you can use an airbrush and do a lot of that. So your brush gets a little damp, and you keep doing it till there's almost no paint. And obviously having a primed board lets you see that more clearly. Also, supposedly keeps the dust down. I know the bristles are not as strong on these brushes as the Artis Opus ones, but you you'll see here it's still going to put paint down. It feels like there's almost no paint on the brush. That's not in focus. You put a little bit more paint on. But supposedly using this type of palette gives you, it doesn't get as dry. I don't have enough. I'm probably because I'm using too small of a brush. But it doesn't get as dry, so it's not as chalky. And I will tell you, it was better already, and it's probably even better now that I primed it, because it would just be a cloud of pigment, right? You know, I'm not in the frame here. But yeah, they make a palette that's only like $20 or something like that, or 20 pounds probably, actually. Boy, this thing's drawing the focus out of it. I really wish I had time to look at them, because I would like to see some of their brushes in general. I'm still on the lookout for something really great for me for brushes, but so anyway, what you're doing is you're just getting it so that it highlights this flesh color that's still pretty dark ultimately. I xenothalled these a little differently than the first batch, but they'll look fine. I feel like we've heard this song on here already. But suppose you use this palette and then you prime it again, and it I will tell you, it's not really kicking up a lot of dust. It's way better than it ever was with me using a towel. I saw a little burst of dust there. Now, one of the things you would do is you'd put a little bit more moisture on your brush, and it's a sponge that they give you inside the kit. But I was just saying, I watched a review where he could not figure out how to use that part. But oops, it's really not focusing. But that looks really cool, probably because I have a brush moving around and making it. But it gives it a cool look. And then I will do a separate dry brush of the, well, let's just do it now. This might be too wet though. Let me see here. Oof, definitely wetter. Okay, well, let's see what we get here. I might do a thin wash over this to bring the purple back up. Boy, he's kind of loose on the base. Now, again, they don't have to look the same. I want them to be similar because they're part of the same force. But there you go, that's that one. Let's try a little bit more of the purple here. But you can see how quickly, I mean, I'm not even good at dry brushing. You can make a lot of progress in a short amount of time. That's the one thing I was wondering, like, if you, how much of a difference it would be if you, and some of this dry brushing, they actually do it where it's actually kind of wet, so I'm like, well, that's not really dry brushing. Look how wet this paint is. I've covered up this whole tile here. I have used makeup brushes. Actually, Marie, this has been a great dry brush. I've used this one many times. This is from e.l.f. Ultimate Blending, costs $4.50. Huge. I've used it for larger stuff. And then I have this one here from another one from e.l.f. called an eye contour brush. And it works great too. I just decided to try to use, I actually think these bristles, which are synthetic, are more durable than these ones I'm getting here in these Army Painter ones. Now, they're not the greatest, but they're similar to ones that Artist Opus does, but yeah, I'm dry brushing something that already is dry brushed here. Or is it? No, I went and painted that guy, that's why. He does need white dry brushing. I don't have the black painted, which I actually do a little dry brush, a little white, so I'll come back to that later. But yeah, that's the thing, we were talking about using adjacent stuff. You know, using these is great. Like $4 is for a huge brush. If you're doing something large, this is phenomenal. And I've used this a lot. I actually just was on the phone with my mom last night and I cleaned this one more. I used a little bit of alcohol to take some of the white paint that had stuck around in here, and it's back to being new, and I've had it for more than a year, probably 2 years now, at least actually. I think I bought it near the beginning of the pandemic. And it's great, works really, really well. So, you know, you save money, and you know, if you get really where you're super talented and you want stuff that's a little bit more professional, maybe, you know, I don't know, then you definitely, you know, might want to buy the, I mean, again, I was going to buy it. Now, it isn't going to make me a miracle user of dry brushing. Let's see here, is it getting focused? No. There you go, I think that is it. They're all dry brushed with that stuff. Now I need to do the tan. Let me just do a little bit more. I've got paint on the palette. Hate to waste it. Wow, it's dry already. Good God. Southern California, man. Wow. Now the reality is I could use the white on here and it probably wouldn't be a problem. So I see little bristles coming off this one, so it's definitely not as durable as I imagine the ones from Artist Opus. Artist Opus is a British company. Their videos are great. He is really, really a talented dry brush painter. Really, really good. Well, I guess that's it. That is dry as it's going to get, and it won't be fun to put on there. I think this needs more priming, to be honest with you. Anyway, well, also paint just dries fast here. Let me cut back to my shot here. It is not in that frame. It's the one thing with having multiple windows on this. Hey, there's the big glasses the Scott gave me. Let me put some traditional real glasses on. Cool. As I said, we'll be back. And we'll stream in about 4.5 hours. I'll shave too. I did not shave this morning. Too much technical stuff this morning. But we'll probably do at least 1 or 2, hopefully 2 Halloween themed horror games. Hopefully the Halloween one is cool. And that's my gum. That is not putty. And then we will be back. So we stream today. I think we'll have another stream on Tuesday. And then that'll be our last stream until we come back from BGG-Con. And, you know, Thanksgiving we probably won't stream on Thursday. Maybe if I want to get away, I might stream a paint stream. We'll see. Hopefully it'll be fun with the family. And I hope you guys, let's see if there's somebody to raid. I don't know if I have any of these windows open here. I was in such a rush to get going. Hey, it's there, but it's tiny. Let's see what we got. Wow, water runs through. Let's go raid Rado, I think. On YouTube, you can't do that, unfortunately, but if you, Miniacs, see, Trash Rama, I don't have, I need to figure out, maybe I can find it. Miniacs, well, let's do Rado. Anyway, oh, he's talking to Travis Chance. It's not Rado, though, he's away, so let's go back. Travis is probably talking about his new game. I think he was hoping to come here and play it with us, but let me see if I can find Miniac. I really want painting if you guys are Miniac. Oh, he's there. Wow, 235. That's got to be great. Anyway, you guys have fun. YouTube folks, thanks for joining me. You can't raid, but if you want to go to Twitch, you can check it out. We're going to look at Maniac. He's painting a project, it looks like. And I hope you guys can join us later on today and have a great one. Take care, everybody, and thanks for joining me. Talk to you later. Let's see if this goes. I got to wait a few seconds, but 5 seconds. 8. Now, if you want to join in, I don't know how many people we have watching. It's that very tiny raid. See you guys. Take care, everybody. Bye, YouTubers.